Yeah, good morning to everyone and welcome to this webinar. I introduce myself. My name is Pier Giorgio Vittori, and in speech, I'm the Global Business Development Director and Regional Manager. Today, we will be talking about a successful digitalization process in a contact center. We have a full agenda with 3 great speakers, and they will touch upon different points here, from the service excellence, shift-led strategy from Bart, from PwC. Then Gary will take over and we'll discuss about the technological enabler, the couple of use cases. And finally, we get the customer view from Swisscard, from Greg, who will talk about how Swisscard implemented the strategy. The webinar is about 60 minutes. During the webinar, there will be 2 polls, and I invite you to share your opinion, which is important to us. At the end, we have Q&A sessions, so any questions you would like to ask to any of the speakers, feel free to do it. We have a lot of discuss about. Without any further ado, I will hand over to Bart Brusselmans from PricewaterhouseCoopers, with the first speakers of today.
Yes, thank you, Pier Giorgio, and thank you for inviting me to your webinar. So hi everyone, good morning. My name is Bart Brusselmans. Just a quick introduction maybe. I lead customer transformation in PwC Belgium. And actually for the last more or less 20 years, I've been working in customer engagement management, from contact centers over customer service department, and also spend a little bit of time in sales and marketing. For me, customer service is really very close to my heart, very important, because I do believe that if we as companies provide an excellent service experience in the moments that really matter to our customers, we will create loyal customers, and actually customers that will prepare to pay, I would say, a premium price for our product or services, regardless in the sector that you're in. Yeah, let's just kick off. So today, it's customer service is about how do you meet your service the customer expectations. And what we see, and these are averages from projects we've done all over the globe, is that you actually not only need to look at cost reduction, but you can create a win-win situation where you have cost reduction and an improved customer satisfaction as a win-win situation. So by focusing on that, you will increase customer value. As I already said, you will definitely decrease the cost to serve, and I'll explain that later through the shift left strategy. But the last metric is also becoming more and more important. It's measuring your staff, how happy they are, and staff attrition. Attrition, of course, is one of the key metrics you can use for that. So talking about, and Pietro, please move to the next slide. So talking about your people, your staff that are working in the front office, you probably recognize this situation all that you have as a company where you work for, you have certain objectives. And on the other side, you have your customers who have certain expectations. And the front office staff could be in contact centers, could be sales reps, could be field engineers, people that engage with your end customers. They really are your face to the customer, and they represent your customer, and they're also sometimes squeezed between those 2 objectives, your company objective and your customer expectation. Now, in that moment, when they have this interaction, if you can do that right, if you can meet your customer expectation in that moment of truth, I'm really convinced that you can make your customers more loyal and actually differentiate yourself at that moment from your competition. You do that by giving your front office staff the right tools, the right training, and of course also the right introducing the right processes. And I've made an overview, which is on the next slide, of what are the challenges most companies need to address. It's easier said than done, of course, that you need to become customer-centric and so on, but how do you do that? Well, the 5 challenges, let me take you through it, the 5 challenges that we've seen that organizations have who really want to become customer-centric are these 5. And let me start by giving a bit more insight on the top right with integrate customer touchpoints. So when integrate customer touchpoint, what do I mean by that? It's companies, organizations very often still have different silos who interact in their own way with customer. If you want to become a customer-centric organization, this is really something companies need to solve. It's customers don't really have a view in your internal organization, and you cannot project that to your customers. I've actually had a very recent experience which shows this very, very good, is that my son needed a jacket. We ordered it online, everything went fine, but the delivery was actually taking much longer than we expected. So last week, sometime in the evening, I went on their website, saw a telephone number, of course, they were closed, but there was also a WhatsApp and Messenger, Facebook Messenger channel was there. So they offer different channels, so great. So I posted a message on WhatsApp and also another one on Messenger, actually, because I was quite frustrated. Next morning, I called because I didn't get an immediate reply. Frustration got up. When I got that person on the phone, she immediately recognized actually that she saw my message and that she already took action. And of course, I was still not happy with the delay in the delivery. But when I hang up the phone, I was a happy customer again because I was recognized. She recognized my request on the different channels. She had a view on that. So that was for me actually in the end a positive experience. Second below, creating high-performance organization is by it's the most difficult one to be able to digitalize your front office, your contact center. You also need to look at your back office. You need to look at your ERP system as well. So that's a transformation program that companies need to go through. But to be able to offer real digital experience, of course, it's much more than just your front office. Leveraging service for revenue growth. As already mentioned at the beginning, you can really create a win-win situation. Optimizing customer service should not only be about cost reduction, but the two actually go hand in hand. And it's by providing your people that interacting with customers a service or a product catalog that they can offer to customers for upselling. Most probably not all your service or products that you're selling, they will be able to sell, but there's certainly a few ones. And the effort for them to sell, to do that upsell, it's much, much lower than sending another sales rep to your customers to try to sell that product. Drive customer centricity. Yeah, I talked about the silos that really needs to be fixed, but also listen to your people that are in the front office. Lots of companies have voice of the customer programs. They're very useful. They also take quite an effort, can be very expensive. A workaround or quick win would be use your contact center staff, use your customer service people as a voice of the customer. You'd be amazed how much information you get out of them about how your customers experience the service that your company is offering. And then last but not least, innovate the customer interface. It's a bit related to integrating touch points, the high performance operations. It's finding a balance between human interaction, automated interaction. There is lots of very good innovative technology available on the market. speech being one of them, certainly. And customers don't mind anymore these days to have automated process if it's convenient, if it works well, if it's used at the right time. Automated service, self-service is fine, but you need to find that balance between automated and human interactions. So summarize again here. So lowering cost to serve can go hand in hand, or should go hand in hand, with meeting your customer expectations. And you can do that by thinking about this, what we call the shift left strategy, which I explain on the next slide. Yes, thank you very much. So it's actually a very simple strategy. What we see in a lot of organizations, contact centers, customer service departments, regardless if you're organized on a tier level or more in competence groups, or have a swarming principle more, very often we see that requests, complaints, questions need to be escalated to a more specialist. That's a lose of time, that's expensive. Now, shift left means, why not try to bring your tickets or requests that are usually handled by specialists in level 3 or level 2 to level 1. You can do that by bringing the right information, the right knowledge to your customers, to your front office staff, excuse me. Then take it one step further. See what is standard. What are more standard commodity type of answers you can provide in a self-service? That's level 0. Again, it's also about convenience. You can offer self-service very easily in a 24/7 environment. So you improve the customer experience and lower cost at the same time. What happens then is that your staff, your front office staff, level 1, level 2, regardless, they get more time. You can reduce that by reducing your number of staff, and by that reducing your cost to serve. Or you can use that time and use the data that you have on your customers and the products and service you provide them to be proactive, to reach out to them in a proactive way. That's what I call the level -1. What happens then, if you implement that over the years, you actually get less requests, less calls. The ones you get, you'll be able to solve from the first time, meaning your cost to serve comes down, and at the same time, your customer experience goes up. And it shows in the figures. I've put some figures on the next slide. Just quickly go over here what we see. The first one, you can, by doing this, by implementing the shift left strategy, you, of course, like I just explained, case reduction. You get lower number and lower volume of cases, which immediately could lead to reducing your workforce, which leads, for one company, we did that to a saving of 1 million euros. And that includes actually the investment you need to make in a knowledge base of the service catalog, but in the long term, it pays off because you need less workforce. Second example is you reduce by entering into a shift left strategy, you can reduce the average handling time of a call. And the last example here, it's a huge figure, but it's a hardware manufacturer that actually already went or implemented that shift left strategy 5-6 years ago, and over the years, if you total up, you come to a saving of an incredible $114 million. And that is really by that, where in the old days, all requests came to a person, maybe not the right person from the first time, so needed to be transferred to a second person, by avoiding that it always is the right from the first time, and actually that a huge number of these contacts can be handled in self-service channels. That's how they come to the reduction and the decrease of cost. It's not always that easy. The graph shows a little bit. You have, of course, that I don't need to explain. A chat channel is much cheaper than a phone. Also, web and using communities, peer-to-peer communities is very cheap. But also your success rate, your first contact rate, the first time resolution, also something also varies from contact to contact. So you contact channel or touch point to touch point. You need to test that a little bit. And to summarize that as an introduction for the rest of this great webinar, I put 3 really key success factors on a slide here. The first one is about the change management. So in everything you do, what is critical is that you involve your employees that are in the front, that are working with your customers and engage with your customers. Look at the changes you make from their perspective and involve them. Use data, use analytics. If you work in different teams, different departments across your company that have information about customers, that have customer data, bring it together in one single database, a CRM system or another customer database that customer-facing people can use to service your customers. And then 3, use that data also to make it personalized. And personalized can also be automated, actually. Personalized is not always an expensive human touch in interaction with your customers. But then, of course, you need to integrate your data asset into. And then you have to conclude it actually comes back at the same. At the first critical success point is to provide your people that are on the phone, doing the chat, doing the different channels with your customers with the right training, that they have the right skills, and provide them with the right technology. So that's a bit for me in a nutshell why I think the shift left strategy can really help you on one side reduce your cost to serve, but at the same time also make sure that your customer experience is still there and actually provide a better customer experience to your customers.
Thank you very much, Bart, for the great presentation. So moving on, we have, as anticipated, the first poll, which I will pull up now. Just a second. So the question, so the poll is what bothers your customers mostly? As you can see, it's a multiple choice type here. So there are basically 4 choices here: long waiting times, too many authentication questions, a DTMF-based IVR, like the one we know, press 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. And last is being transferred to another system or agent or any other. So I will encourage you to vote. It's about 1 minute time, so take your time to read through and just express your frank opinion here. And then after the vote, I will share with everybody the results. So thank you very much for your sharing your opinion. So we proceed back to the presentation. And now is a time for Gary Williams to talk about speech as the enabler in this shift to left strategy. So Gary, you would like to take this, please?
Thank you, Pier Giorgio, and good morning again, everybody. Thank you for attending our webinar. My name is Gary Williams. I'm the Director of Sales and Consultancy for UK and Ireland for Spitch. I've got a lot to talk about today. I'm going to dive right in. Hopefully it's all of interest. Apologies to those people that know quite a bit about us. First of all, some of the things, the headlines about Spitch is that we're a relatively young company, only formed in 2014, in fact, headquarters in Switzerland, but we're growing our worldwide presence steadily. Some of the things that make us unique is we provide a full suite of technologies based on natural language processing. It's our own technology. We're in multiple languages. We provide both real-time and offline processing. It's a highly scalable technology, and it's downward scalable as well, right down to the smallest company, right to the largest. A big differentiator with our competitors is that we provide the ability either for ourselves to host the solutions or for the customers to host, both in a cloud environment, but we can do this on premise if that's required. So, for example, in banking and finance, this is often a requirement, because of security. One of our big strong points is a quick time to market. Because of the high level tools that we have, we use them ourselves to develop customer solutions, but we also make them available to partners and customers where required. And again, this is a big differentiator. Now, all these things go together, and it's why we're punching way above our weight, given the size, relatively small company. And we've had 2 mentions in Gartner reports just in the last 9 months. First of all, late last year, as we were quoted as being one of 3 cool speech vendors. And then more recently, in April of this year, we were listed as a key speech technology vendor, and that was alongside the giants. No need to mention the names, we all know who they are. And an interesting thing about that report is we were the only company that you might say ticked every box in terms of technology provided, flexibility, etc. Before I move off this slide, though, I want to give you just a glimpse of what I mean by fast time to market. We're living in a crazy time, and we recently put in a COVID-19 related, fully automated service desk for one of the largest Russian cities with a population of around 4 million. And this was for the purpose of issuing travel passes, one of the measures that the Russian government successfully put in place as part of their lockdown measures. Right from the very first customer meeting to go live took less than 48 hours. And I think everybody on the call would agree that's an impressive result. Okay, so the next slide, please. So we're now going to look at the omnichannel map, because this is really at the beating heart of what we're talking about today, which is about digitalisation, particularly of call centre services. On our map, you'll see that at the core, we've got the business process automation, and that's underpinned by our voice and NLP technologies. And that supports use cases that, there's only a couple here, but there's various forms of transaction service, for example, customer surveys, customer support, claims. It's such a flexible technology that the use cases, are almost endless. And on the diagram, I just want to pick up on what we mean by omnichannel, because I think it's sometimes overused or misused in the marketplace. And the nice young lady on the right hand side, she is answering a customer survey, automated service. She starts the conversation using a mobile phone, but for whatever reason can't continue. But the service retains the data and the point in the dialogue where she broke off and can continue in another channel, in this case on a mobile app. And I think that really sums up, all the great things about an omnichannel solution. Next slide. So just a quick look at our full stack of natural language processing technologies. We provide voice biometrics, but a big differentiator to our competitors is that we don't just identify the user, and also they don't have to say a password. We do this in a passive way, but we can continue to verify the call, and in that way we can guard against voice identification, impersonation. So in other words, if somebody's made a recording of somebody's passphrase, they could theoretically get through the system with some of our competitors' technologies, but we continue to verify the call against voice patterns, and we can provide an alert to the agent that there's something fishy going on and stop that transaction before it goes too far. We provide a conversational user interface. So for example, in a self-service situation, the user just speaks in their own words, in their own way, even back to front, and the system will interpret what is being requested and comply. Now, compliance, you're going to hear more about that later on, a few slides down the road when I talk about one of our use cases. But this is becoming very popular in BPOs to provide automated compliance monitoring. Speech analytics, again, harking back to what Bart was talking about, is really at the heart of understanding what our customers are thinking, what their trends are, the things that maybe the call center supervisors, it's not apparent, but we can analyze the contents of calls to look at all these different metrics and see which way customers are going. We also have real-time behavioral analysis where we go deeper into speech analytics to actually look at the emotion and the sentiments of the callers. And of course, we have automatic speech to text, and we have text alignment as well. Next slide. So today we're going to look at 3 areas of use of our technology. I will describe a great transformational story for healthcare in an automated reservation system, and I'll also talk about how we've been successful in an automated compliance monitoring solution with a BPO. And in the third case, talking about new channels for remote banking, our customer Swiss card will actually relate their success story in their own words. So first of all, a little bit about healthcare. Our customer, Casa della Salute, is a chain of radiology clinics in northwest Italy originally, but spreading and expanding their business, and even recently have added 5 new clinics, and they have an aggressive growth plan for the coming year. They've set very high goals, not only for this growth, but the standard of healthcare services they're delivering. They therefore have put digitalisation as a central component of their development. And again, this harks back to what Bart was saying about digitalisation being customer centric. So in the next slide, we talk about the current situation of the issue. The continuous growth of this business and the number of clinics and services with it that's grown has highlighted the need for automation. Reservations up until this point have been made via telephone, but with call volumes of 30,000 per month on average and increasing, they were struggling to cope with the peaks. And at times, this meant losing up to 20% of calls through caller frustration at the length of queuing times. And of course, within that 20%, there's potentially a lot of lost business because many of those customers, those callers, will be calling to make a brand new reservation. Next slide. So I just want to describe a little about what the answer was. So in association with our partner, .vocal, we've provided a solution to automate that service. And just stepping us through the process, it's omnichannel, so that means there's a voice bot or IVR, or in this case, Facebook channel, so text and voice, in other words. It receives the request and welcomes patients, as well as getting personal information from them. And it asks the patient what type of visit or appointment they need. And it will also get the preferred date and time and location. Again, the customer can say this in exactly the way that they want. You know, they don't have to be formal in giving dates and times. They can say a week next Thursday, and the system can understand and translate that into dates. And because we integrate at the back end, it's comparing that with availability slots via the CRM and the reservation service. The AI and NLP is interpreting all the time what is being said and will make the reservation. And the patient is also provided with logistical information if they need it. You know, where do I have to go? What do I need to take with me? All the sort of things that the caller would ask of staff. And of course, these are the sort of things, the little things, the routine things that tie people up, that stress the staff, tie up the telephone lines and cause long queues. And of course, we're getting rid of all that with the solution. And then lastly, but not least, a message is sent via whatever channel the customer's using. So for example, text or Facebook message. Okay, we can go now. Next slide. So what are the benefits? Well, okay, they're obvious, but just to go through them, the dialogue flow and the customer experience is being preserved through this omni-channel. If you think back to the little example I gave on our omni-channel diagram, no matter which channel the user's coming in on, the point in that dialogue is preserved, so they can put the phone down and continue on another channel, on a text channel. And nothing is lost. The user's details are not lost. What they're ringing for is not lost. Another point is that the reservation service copes with all calls. So regardless of the peak in volume, because our technology is scalable. You know, if it's running out of channels, it can expand as a broker within that system. So it's automatically balancing how many instances, if you like, of that voice bot are needed. So that means no lost business whatsoever. The channel, so whether that's the bot, the IVR, or the Facebook channel, if it's detecting a more complex call, so by that, what I mean is, for example, a caller that hasn't been registered, hasn't used that service before, then it will automatically divert that to a member of staff. And along with that, again, the conversation is preserved. The point in the dialogue is preserved. So in other words, who they are, what they're calling about. One of the most important benefits is that patients don't have to hang on the line, and that is a great boost to the CX factor, the customer experience. And of course, internal processes are improved and more cost effective because of that. So I'm now going to move on and talk about the next transformation case, which is a company called Abramo. They're a large BPO. They have a global presence, and they're in several sectors such as printing and logistics, multi-channel customer care, marketing and sales support, financial process optimization. But we're looking specifically in customer care, and within that, within the telesales area. Now, because of regulation, and depending on the market that you're in, there's a lot of regulation, especially in telesales, and that regulation increases almost all the time. In their case, all the calls have to be recorded and audited. And they work with some pretty heavyweight clients as well, large telcos and utility companies. And all these companies are pretty tough, and they demand that these audits are rigorous. Now, this means it's a very expensive process. And so far, this has been a manual process with random auditing samples, and very costly, and also prone to errors and risk within that. It's very stressful on staff and time consuming, and many staff have to be taken from contact center duties in order to perform this. So the answer undoubtedly has been to provide automation to increase efficiency, to reduce costs, to lower risk. So we're actually going to see a video of that, but before we go on, I'm just going to tell you the benefits of automation first. The net result for a BPO is it means high margins, and that means that they're more competitive in the market, because relieving the cost of audit is a huge relief of burden financially for that sort of company. The new technology is more accurate, and in fact, the engine is trained on low quality audio, and so it can become better than the human ear in the same situation. Also, the system runs overnight, so it's better utilization of the services within the installations. The stress on agents is reduced. It's much easier and faster to audit using the new technology. And they find that the new technology is very reliable, very dependable. So really in the next slide, all I'm going to do now is just introduce you to the video, which is also available on YouTube, and I'll say bye for now.
Thanks, Gary. And I will now play the video. Again, it's the full version is in YouTube. Here's just a snapshot because of time.
Our experience of unsuccessful partnership with speech in compliance automation using speech technology. The speech solution has helped us to reduce the workload significantly for staff involved in compliance. An easy-to-use dashboard made it easy to review only the calls that deviating from compliance standards and only parts of those conversations that were highlighted by the speech system as problematic. Let's see how it works in practice. This is how the interface of the solution actually looks. Compliance Manager can see a list of all conversations that the speech system has proceeds. They can sort the list according to the level of compliance with regulations or scripts. Clicking on one specific call, you can review individual conversation with keywords and phrases highlighted in red to indicate that potential compliance issues have been picked up by the speech system. The score on the upper right corner indicates the level of probability that the call is in full compliance with regulations or scripts. The speech solution checks whether or not regulatory requirements and mandatory parts of the scripts have been adhered to.
La fattura sarà inviata all'indirizzo email fornito, che dovrà confermare all'interno dell'email che riceverà a breve. In alternativa saranno inviate all'indirizzo email con il quale effettuare la registrazione
This helps Abramo radically reduce the workload for compliance managers, who don't have to listen to all the conversation. Now, it is possible also to have 100% of calls easily audited.
Thank you very much. And now we move on back to the presentation here. Next one is actually we have the second poll. So let's pull up the second poll here. So the questions here is for which solutions do you expect quick wins in the future, in the near future? So you can see also here a multiple choice. So first one is intent-based routing, or smart IVR as they call, or call stealing. The other one is automate voice verification, identification. Third is voice-driven self-service for routine questions. And the fourth is the speech analytics to increase quality of service in app and cross sales or others. Again, I give you a minute and I will appreciate very much you share your opinion with the rest of the team. And I will share the results with you. So as you can see, the first is the voice-driven self-service for routine questions, followed by, I think, the third intent-based routing and automated voice verification. Thanks for sharing your opinion. So we go back now to the last part of the presentation of the webinar, which is Swisscard. So Greg, welcome, and it's your turn. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Pier Giorgio. Welcome to my part of the presentation from my side, but also from Swisscard. In the next few slides, I will show you some information about Swisscard, and then in the next slides about our project together with speech. Perhaps it's not good to speak about the project because it's really a transformation. Also, what we heard from Bart earlier, it's really a transformation. But first, a bit information on Swisscard. We are a joint venture between American Express. I think everybody knows American Express, and Credit Suisse, one of the biggest bank in Switzerland. And we are a credit card issuer issuing Visa, MasterCard, and American Express cards. Today, we are here to speak about the service and how we are servicing our customer. Therefore, some information about our servicing proposition and what we are doing. First of all, we are servicing in four languages, and we have quite a lot of different type of customer, from the customer having a free of charge card and customer that are paying an extremely high amount of money to have the card. These are our premium customer. Perhaps some of you know the black card from American Express, and this customer we are also servicing. For sure, as a contact center, as a credit card issuer, we are 24 hours there. We have a bit more than 1 million customer, and also to give some background, we are handling more than 1 million calls a year. If we go to the next slide, then you will see what are our servicing principles. I think I will not spend too many time on the value proposition what we are offering, because it's quite clear that we need to be trustful for our customer. We need to provide security to our customer. You can use the credit card everywhere. You're sure that you have a trusted partner that are supporting you. You have the security by buying online or at the point of sale. And what's our key differentiator are the benefits that we are offering together with our cards and the customer experience we are building up and trying to offer to our customer. For me, extremely important, it's our servicing principle. The best service is no service. It's just work. If you're using your credit card, the most important thing at its work when you want to use that, and therefore it just work. If we get to an interaction, then it should be easy and simple. And I always add easy and simple for the customer, not for us, for the company. If it's for both sides, even better, but it's important to have the customer in mind. And then if we service our customer, the customer are expecting a personalized service tailored for them to solve their issue as quick as possible. We heard earlier also from Bart and Gary that the customer needs are changing. They want to have personalized service, and therefore we want to offer that. If we go to the next slide, I want to share with you our dialogue strategy. In the next slides, you will see what we did with our telephony solution, but this solution can be used also for all other channels. If a dialogue starts, then we need to leverage the data that we have and understand why the customer is calling, who is the customer, how is contacting us. And then, due to the fact that we are financial services, we need to follow two steps. The first one is to understand why the customer is contacting us, and this is why we did the project together with Speech. And the second one, we need to authenticate the customer. It's not enough to know who is the customer. We need really to be sure that this is the customer we are speaking with, and therefore most of the contact center are asking questions. We are leveraging also another solution. And then what we decided to use is the value irritant matrix. I hope you know them. It's not developed by us. It's quite well known. And let's make two examples so that you have an understanding of what is the value irritant matrix. If we look in these 4 boxes, we look on the bottom left side. In this case, the customer doesn't want to have a dialogue with us, and the company don't want to have a dialogue with the customer, and therefore we are trying to make the dialogues needless. And therefore, for example, if you are looking for some information that you can find in internet, why having a dialogue if it's only about an information? Let's make second example. If we go on the right side, on the bottom, then we have automate dialogues. In this case, the customer wants to talk with us, and the company doesn't want to talk to the customer, because we can automate the dialogue. And an example here to make it a bit more clear and tangible is if we want to have a new secret number to use the card, this PIN. I think that you don't want really to talk with an agent, but you want to get it quite quickly. And therefore, we want to automate this dialogue so that you can get the information you want as quick as possible. The last example, and this is where I think the employees can also make the difference, is if the company wants to have a dialogue with the customer and the customer wants to have a dialogue with the company, then it's where we should invest Therefore, in this case, it's not so important how long a call takes, because if you invest time with the customer, then you will have also the value added. You can offer value to the customer and the customer gets the value. For example, in this case, we can take a cancellation. The customer call us and ask us or tell us that they want to cancel the card. Then we want to invest time and explain to the customer the benefits of our cards and keep them with us. And therefore, it's important to invest. Based on this value return matrix, we also defined our transformation structure, transformation plan that you see on the next slide. That's clear. I think everybody in the business knows that you start and you need to clean up all the old solution and to understand what you want to do. And therefore, we had an evolution and not a revolution in our contact center. We started cleaning up everything what was not working well, and what we got from a feedback from the employees, but also from our customer. And then we started our journey. What you saw in the slide, the last slide I showed, we started understanding why the customer is calling. Then we implemented something to authenticate the customer. We can now route the customer to the next best agent. It means the agent that has the relevant skills. And this is what we did and what we implemented. Now we are on our transformation path on the number 4. And there it's about deciding, do we want to connect the customer to an agent, or do we want to automate our calls? But let's really go to the next slides and understand what we did in a deep dive. If you are calling Swisscard, you type the number and then you get the normal announcement, welcome to Swisscard. And then the first step is the authentication step. We are pushing through our app a message to our customer asking him to confirm that he or she is contacting Swisscard. This is extremely important because we are a financial service, and therefore from a regulatory point of view, we need to authenticate our customer. And now it starts the magic, the project that we did with speech. We ask our customer to tell us what is their request. We are not offering anymore these old-fashioned IVRs. Please type 1 if you have a question around your bill. Please type 2 if you want to get a new PIN and so on, but we ask them. And then the customer can speak, tell us what the contact reason is. For example, the customer is saying, I want to change my address. And then with the AI of speech, we calculate the call reason. In this case, you see an example that the call reason or the sentence said by the customer, it's about the process customer profile management. And you see the percentage with which probability this is the correct contact reason. And this is only an example. It's not from speech, but it's to make it a bit understandable. And therefore, we select this contact reason, and then we connect the customer to the agent that has this skill. Skill-based routing, next best agent is what we are applying, and the customer can now speak with the best qualified agent at this point in time. Therefore, we can improve the first contact resolution, and the agent already know why the customer is calling. That's really interesting because shortly before the call start, the discussion, the dialogue between the customer and the employees, there we see that the employees can quickly see what's about, why is the customer calling, and then he or she can prepare himself or herself for the call at his best, because he knows, okay, I need to start this tool, and the customer wants, for example, in this case, to change the address, and therefore it will be a bit more quiet call. It's not about the cancellation and something like that. And therefore, it's also a value added for our agents. Based on that we are working together with speech, and speech is leveraging an AI solution, we want also to provide feedback to speech back. If in this case, and then you will show on the next slide some KPIs also. Sorry, Pier Giorgio, could you go back one slide. If the contact reason was not the correct one because our business is developing, then we can give feedback to speech, and they can enhance, update the algorithms in order to find the right contact reason for the next times. And therefore, we are always training, continuously training the AI engine of speech. And now, thank you, Pier Giorgio. I think the most important thing is to speak about the results that you will see on the next slide. Some KPIs, it's quite interesting. We are in Switzerland, quite a lot of people speaks Swiss German, and we see that our customers are also speaking with this machine in Swiss German. For speech, it's not a problem. They can understand that quite well. And what for us the key factor, and what it's also why we decided to continue working with speech, and we have now also projects running, is the quality of the solution. If you see on the bottom, the SSM baseline error means in 90% of the cases, we have the correct connection between what the customer is saying with the contact reason. It means we have the qualities 90%. In 90% of the case, we can connect the customer with the next best agent. It means the agent that has the skill to answer the question, to provide support to the customer. And this is really, really a great solution. And we are really proud that we achieved such a great percentage of right connections. Sorry, Pier Giorgio, 2 seconds for the last information. For us, it started, it's a long journey based on the fact that we have only 5 minutes left, only 2 words on the achievements. Employees are extremely happy because they know in advance why the customer is calling. We implemented skill-based routing. I spoke quite a lot about that, and therefore I don't want to spend time on that. It's the foundation for a big potential. If we think about this shift left strategy, now we are enabling, empowering our employees to provide first contact resolution, to have the right information to solve the customer issues. And if you speak about automation, then we can also automate the easiest, the simple inquiries, and then the employee can focus on the most important one. We started a change process. I think this is what was also mentioned by Bart, extremely important. It's not only about technology, but it's a mindset shift that we need to implement, to drive in order to bring the customer experience we are offering to our customer on the next level. And we have also great positive customer feedbacks because customers are happy to tell us what happened instead of using these IVRs. On the learnings, I think I have no more time, and therefore if you have questions or topics about that, you can contact me through speech or through LinkedIn or drop me an email. Thank you very much from my side and also from Swisscard for giving us this presentation and for sharing with you what we did. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, great, Greg, for the great presentation. And I think it's actually you replied to one of the questions we got in the chat, which is regarding how your employees took actually the change you are implementing there. So thanks actually for replying to really to the questions we got through the chat here. We have a couple of minutes left, and I got a few questions, so we try to address some of them, hopefully most of them, but in case you have further questions, you can always contact us. I think one question came here for Bart is regarding what makes a company to become customer-centric, because that is the experience that Greg shared, but I would like to have also your perspective, Bart.
Yeah, Pietro, thank you. It's a good question, also a very difficult question, and one that comes quite often. What makes a company become customer-centric? In my view, there are three things that I see that are important to become customer-centric. Of what we've seen in the past, what makes a successful transformation in customer centricity. I think the first one is it needs to come top-down. You need to have at least sponsorship of this program on an executive level. that is one of the key things we see to become successful in that. Secondly, also mentioned it a few times, sorry to come back to again, it's the silos, the departments in your organization need to break down. Companies really need to fix this, that it doesn't bother customers in getting the information from your company. And then thirdly is, and what we see more and more, is a focus on what I would call the employee experience. We see a direct link between employee experience and customers and customer experience. When your employee experience goes up by providing them better training, better tools, make them really feel happy about their work, there's an immediate impact on customer experience as well. So I think those three things really make a successful transformation to become a customer-centric organization.
Thanks, Bart. One question coming for Greg, and says, how long did it take from the idea of automated call routing to the 90% success rate in semantic? Greg?
On audio, for us it was quite a long journey, and it was not so easy also to sell the project to the board of directors, and therefore we are Swiss, we are in Switzerland, and then we wanted really to have a high quality solution. It took us 18 months, but basically it's not technology driven, these 18 months, but these are driven by the mindset that we have, and we started really trying to get call reasons from our customer on only one phone numbers, and the first day we got something like 3 or 4 contact reasons that we were able to use to train the machine of speech. And then we saw that the customer gave positive feedbacks, the employees gave positive feedbacks, and therefore we continued in our journey, and we added other phone numbers with bigger load of calls, and therefore it's based also how quick you want to implement that and how much risk you want to take. For us it was 18 months because we started really slow and in a controlled way, and I think you can do that quicker, but for us was also important to really understand and to onboard the complete organization. As Bart said, it's not only about the technology, but it's for us was also customer-centric transformation, and therefore we had also other projects ongoing at the same time. I hope that I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you, Greg, and please. So as we just run out of time, but if you probably can stick a minute, I have a couple more questions came in. I would like to give chance to reply if it's okay with everybody. So one maybe for Gary. If my client is happy with the level of automation that they have in the customer service operation, how do I persuade them to go further with digitalization in adding a voice channel? So Gary, you will probably briefly reply to that question.
Yeah, thank you, Pier Giorgio. Yeah, well, it's a good question because I think if you've got a client, you're a sales account manager. We're all human. You're tempted not to be too disruptive, but let's face it, if we're selling technology, you've got to be prepared to keep pushing to bring new insight. So in a situation where your main contact says that they're happy with what they have, the level of automation, you can probably bet that there are other managers in the organization that maybe aren't so happy. So my advice would be always try to run workshops, once every 6 months or whatever, especially because technology is fast moving. There's always new facilities coming out. We are continually developing our technology stack, and this gives rise to new thinking, new solutions. So by running a workshop, you can encourage your contact to invite the key people to the workshop and then get them to relate what their problematic areas are in the organization, and particularly in contact centers, you're going to find lots of, ongoing, bottlenecks, teething troubles, etc. And also, more importantly, get their plans for the future, and then use that workshop environment to tie the technology to transformative thinking. And not only will people enjoy that type of environment, but it'll be good, a good reward for your contact, because they'll be seen as being a transformative hand in that organization. So I hope that answers the question. It's really about technique, really, to get the technology in front of more people.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a good answer. I think since probably one more questions before closing. We know we are a bit over time here, but I see many of you are still on. So since they are attendees from different countries, that's one reason why we did in English. I think there is one question which is important. And probably this is more for Bart, but feel free, other presenters to comment. The question is how much the cultural aspects have influenced the change within the organization. We heard from Greg, the process it took for them to, basically align all the top management and on the same, idea to share objective and the, basically the process here. So Bart, looking from, let's say, even outside of Switzerland, what has been your perception in terms of, influence or impact of the cultural aspect in this process?
Yes, that's a difficult question. And culturally, then you're talking about customer expectations. Actually, what we see why pushed by globalization and so on, and of course the influence of the internet of the last 30 years, is that it becomes the same more or less. What is culture important is in the company culture, and that sometimes is still very different. You see companies where the customer service, the contact center is an add-on to the company, and something we need to have. Or you see companies where it becomes the center of everything. And that really defines a bit of what a successful customer experience. So I keep it short, so maybe somebody else wants to add as well.
If I can add something else to that, I think what Bart is saying, it's extremely important. It doesn't really depend, are we in Switzerland, are we in Italy, are we in Germany or elsewhere. I think the customer as of today have a great opportunity to choose everywhere, to compare everything. And therefore you can make only the difference about the service you are offering. Therefore the cultural aspect is extremely important, that you can position yourself as a service leader, as a daily companion of your customer, in our case, in the credit card business, and therefore it's extremely important. I use 20 seconds to make the last example. When we spoke about this project together with Speech, what we discussed earlier, that was also then in the executive board discussion, shall we launch or shouldn't we launch? And then it started the discussion, how many FTs we are saving, what we are doing, why we are doing that. And our CEO, Florence Schniedring-Moser, said, hey, let's stop the discussion, that it's customer experience. It's something that our customer expect from us. We want to differentiate ourselves from the others, and we want really to offer a great customer experience. Let's do that. And therefore we started, and now we can continue the journey. Therefore, this cultural aspect, as said by Bart, it's important to get support from the top, but you need to get everybody on this journey, that they support and they bring new ideas, what we can have, what we can improve for our customer. Therefore, also extremely important, voice of the customer, voice of the employees, in order to progress in this journey.
Much appreciated. I think it's important as a customer view and also a real experience from the field. I don't have any more questions from the audience here. Again, I apologize for running out of time. And then also appreciate the feedback I got through the chat. We try to be as impactful, as clear as possible, and showing what we've been doing, and give example to every one of you. So I appreciate very much, and thanks a lot for attending this webinar, and I wish you all the best and a great rest of the day. Thank you very much.